Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chantex Multimedia live streaming all the way from sunny Brisbane. Yes, it is very, very bright and it's a beautiful day out there. And today is the day, the beginning day of the, test match happening in Gabba. It is happening. So after three thrilling tests between Australia and India, the closely fought Boda-Gavaskar series comes down to a blockbuster showdown at the Gabba, happening now. Australian captain Tim Paine won the toss for the fourth test and elected to bat, making it 4 consecutive toss wins for the captain. India has confirmed 4 changes in the match with star Jasprit Bumrah, abdominal pain, Ravichandra Ashwin with big back and Hanum Bihari hamstring and Ravindra Jadeja with the thumb, all missing due to injury. So they are replaced by Manak Agarwal, Washington Sundar, and Sardul Thakur and T. Natarajan. So, we'll keep you update and see what happens, and maybe we'll bring to you some update tomorrow as well. We'll try and see if we can connect with someone from the Gabba itself, maybe someone from BSK, maybe Satish Rajendran or someone. We will try and see if we can, log in with someone and connect with someone from there, and that would be just wonderful to see if we can connect with anyone and get some live updates from there. Well, right now we're heading on to the weekend as well. Hey, it's Friday, so right now let's take a look at what the weather has in store for us. With that, let's welcome Dilraj.
Good morning, everyone. Weather forecast for the rest of today is maximum 32 degree. Brisbane area is mostly sunny with 5% chance of any rain. Light winds becoming north to northeasterly 15 to 20 km per hour in the late afternoon. Fire danger is low to moderate. Sun protection is recommended till 10 past 4 and UV index is predicted to reach 13, that is extreme. And tomorrow, that is Saturday, minimum will be 23 and maximum will be 34. Brisbane area will be mostly sunny in the morning. Medium chance of showers most likely in the afternoon and evening. There is chance of a thunderstorm in the afternoon and evening, possibly severe. Winds northerly 15 to 20 km per hour, becoming light before dawn, then becoming east to southeasterly 15 to 20 km per hour in the middle of the day. Sun protection is recommended from 7:40 a.m. till 4 p.m. and UV index is predicted to reach 13, that is extreme. On Sunday, minimum will be 23 and maximum will be 29. Brisbane area will be partly cloudy with 30% chance of shower, most likely in the evening. There is chance of a thunderstorm inland during the afternoon and evening, and winds are light. Sun protection is recommended from 40 past 7 in the morning till 10 past 4 in the evening, and UV index is predicted to reach 14, that is extreme. Till tomorrow, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day.
And thank you very much for that live update, Dilraj. It is a beautiful day out there, as I mentioned before. And today, don't forget that our main feature today is we'll have the crew and cast of Different Wells, the brand new web series launching here in Brisbane. We'll have them right here in this studio. That's coming up very, very soon. Well, right now, of course, we know that we will be joining in with the premiere very, very soon as well. But right now, let's go to Victoria and see what the Victorian Premier has to say.
To get to this 8 days in a row of 0 is no small thing, and it's a credit to all of our public health team and a credit to all Victorians who've played their part in doing so. However, with those 8 days and with some the sort of stability in our numbers that we want to see, I can confirm that on Monday, private sector businesses will be able to go to 50% working from the office, and public sector will go to 25%. As you know, we have kept the public sector back a bit to enable greater capacity in the private sector. This is really important. It won't mean every worker, obviously it's 50%, but it's a positive step forward. I think pausing for the week was the right choice to make, given there was some uncertainty, but now 8 days of 0 means we can make that announcement. That gives some notice. I'm sure people would always like more notice rather than less, but that decision was only made this morning by our public health team.
Of course, those kind of warnings are always updated because things do happen and things change. So, I mean, we will soon be listening and hearing from our Premier and looking at, that magic date of the 22nd to see what kind of restrictions would be easing up on that. The other area of concern at this point in time is, and which is quite obvious that with the pandemic, almost a whole year coming on to March, will be 1 year, is that what happens with international students at that time? We know that international students contributed a lot to the economy of the country, even here in Brisbane and Queensland. But today we look at the international students, but the report is coming out of Melbourne to say how the numbers have declined and what sort of implications will they have. As we know, there's so many things that hinge around the students, some as all the service providers, but of course accommodation and other associated services as well. So here's that report.
This purpose-built tower in Melbourne is due to open next month. It cost more than $100 million and can house up to 750 university students.
So the bookings would usually be flying through the door right now and looking to welcome those students mid to late February.
But that's not going to happen this year, and it's a similar story across the country. Australia's borders remain shut because of COVID-19. New international students are locked out, and those who went home at the start of the pandemic can't return.
We're looking at an 80 to 90% cut in occupancy.
That's millions in lost revenue, and accommodation providers are desperate. They've even offered to charter flights to Australia and arrange quarantine for students.
A lot of our buildings have single studio apartments. They're perfect to be used as quarantine.
We're willing to follow rules and go for quarantine 2 weeks, whether it's here and there, whichever, testing, anything.
Students like Akshana Nagasundram face a nervous wait 6 weeks before the semester starts.
It's starting in March. I've already had a whole year online.
Across Australia, 30% of the 542,000 student visa holders are now out of the country. New South Wales, Victoria and Queensland have been hit hardest, with an exodus of 140,000 students. And nationally, 99,000 Chinese students have gone home. That's nearly 60% of the cohort.
Most of the economic contribution that comes from international students is actually in the wider economy, about $22 billion.
The federal government asked the states to submit plans for the return of international students 2 months ago. Victoria still hasn't outlined its strategy.
That's ongoing. I can't give you a date when we'll finalise all of that work, but it's what's dominating a fair bit of our time at the moment.
There are still applications coming in, so that when the borders are open, it is likely that international education will return.
It can't come soon enough for a sector that's yet to rebound from the second wave. Christian Silva, ABC News.
And that is one of those news which is very, very hard. And of course, we know that today we're going to be talking about Different Worlds, a web-based series which has been launched right here in Brisbane. Let's take a sneak peek and a look at that.
Do you really want to live with a stranger?
Well, it's so expensive here, and all my friends and family have already got their own places.
Hi, I'm here about the room.
I can already see my kids set up. Right here!
No problem. You live next door, don't you?
Well, I used to, but now I'm looking for my own place.
So, can I move in here? I met this really interesting girl while I was waiting for the lift.
What made her interesting?
Hi, by the way, I'm Tilly.
I don't know. She was just different. Don't worry, Sai. The Indian will do the dishes.
Well, according to the roster that you wrote, it's your fucking turn anyway!
It's such a waste of time. There are far more important things to fight for in life.
Guess we have a lot to learn about each other, eh?
No worries. We will do it. She just kept talking about my deadly weapons, Des and Troy.
Sorry, mate, but I hope she explained it to you.
Des says goodbye too.
So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to Australian Indian Radio and Chantex Multimedia. And today we're going to be talking about something which is very, very interesting, something that is set right here in Brisbane. It's big news. It's going to be making big news. And we are talking about different worlds. And it is a very, very important entertainment mission. Well, I'm talking about a web series that is set in Brisbane, Australia, and follows Rohan, an Indian immigrant who finds an unlikely housemate in the youthful Larrikin Patrick. However, challenges begin to arise as the vast gap between their beliefs and perceptions of one another come to surface, showing how two different people can fight over different opinions, but at the same time resolve the issues by coming out of their comfort zone. Meanwhile, Rohan meets the bubbly Tilly through a chance unexpected meeting at work. An immediate chemistry is formed. However, much like Rohan's relationship with Patrick, external forces present an obstacle to the level of acceptance of their differences. And today we are very, very fortunate to have in the studio with us. Number one is Amit Mehta, who is also the writer, and he also features in the series, and is also one of the executive producers. And also joining with Amit today is Jane Buchkova, and of course joining again via a video link is Stephen McHunter. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome them to the studio. And welcome to the studio, Amit and Jane.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you for having us.
And not forgetting you, Stephen.
Hi, how's it going? Feel pretty honored to be here.
Very good. Thank you so much. Okay, so moving on, we're going to be talking about this feature and how it came about. So first, Amit, I'd like to ask you, is the concept, how did you think of the concept? What, what transpired you and what inspired you to come up with this series?
Yeah, thanks for this question. I think when I first, it started with the observation. I've been here in Australia for around 3.5 years. It'll be completing 4 years very soon. So some of my observations were like, I saw a few differences between different communities. If, for example, Indian and Australian community, like we work together, and there are good friends, but there's something missing. But what is that? For example, there's like friends from Indian communities, they'll talk together, they'll share things. But what is this something missing between these two different communities? Which I was always thinking about it. And then I think I got my answer. And the answer was the comfort zone. Especially if there are two people from different backgrounds, what creates a problem between them is the different factors. It could be language, it could be maybe different religion, or maybe anything like that, their beliefs, all that. But how do you resolve that? That's the comfort zone. If we come out of a comfort zone, try to understand the other person, even if there are a lot of issues, we can resolve that gap. And not just between Indian and Australian community, but I think it applies to everything. But that's why I came up with this idea, and I thought I should be creating something where all the characters from different cultures or maybe backgrounds, they come together, stay together, and then they have issues, and then they have problem which gets resolved through understanding and coming out of their comfort zone. So this was the idea behind it.
And of course, coming out of the comfort zone takes a lot of effort, and having a good idea is always very good. But implementation, how hard was it to bring this to reality, to getting it off the ground?
And I think it has been quite hard. I started writing this around 1.5 years back when this idea came. And then I was thinking whether I should create a short film or a series, but I thought the things which I want to say, I think it will take few episodes, to communicate it to everyone. So yeah, when I started writing it, I'm not, I wasn't a professional writer. I did not write any book or something, and in fact, I had not written any professional scripts. So then, as people start, I joined few writing groups. and in those writing groups I started understanding how you should be writing professionally. And also when I explained this idea to a lot of people, not many people did relate to it initially. They thought, we haven't seen these shows in Australia before. Will it work or will it not? So, but the one thing with me is that I always keep putting my efforts and not much thinking about the results. Because when you just keep putting your efforts, you definitely get the results at the end. So then I met a guy called Steve. He's a writer. And then he really liked my idea, and he said, this is a great idea. And then he came on board as a co-writer. And it's been 1.5 years that we've been constantly writing. And then we did create this web series, and we did shoot pilot and all that. So that was the implementation of the writing part. But then in March 2020, I thought, I'll self-fund the pilot episode. I'll create the concept, I'll shoot it, and I'll take it across to people. And it was definitely not something which I had done before, which included casting, the right casting, the shooting, and hiring the right talent, which I know how important it is. So implementation had, and then the COVID hit, but I think I never let those things shatter my plan, and I always kept going. There are times when you stop for some time, but that shouldn't take your plans and your dreams away. You should always get up, and then start doing. So that's the implementation had its faults at time, but I never let it drop fully. And that's why I've just keep going. And slowly and gradually, I've started getting support, good team got formed, and we've been able to shoot the pilot episode, and also the marketing is going pretty good. But if I look at it, I think it's been hard. Implementation has never been easy, but I'm glad that I never gave up and will not give up, and it has been implemented, and we're doing pretty good.
And hats off to you for having done that. As we know, getting anything off the ground is what takes most of the effort. When you look at the rockets that go up to the moon, the liftoff is where they use most of the fuel. And once they're up and going. So next up, I'll be talking to Steve. Steve, when you met Amit and the concept and all the writing and everything got together, so how was the experience, and what did you feel? And how did it all come together?
So I think there might be a little bit of a miscommunication. This is a different Steve that helped Amit with his writing. I wasn't a part of the writing process when it came to getting the project off the ground. It's a different Steve that handled that one.
Okay, so what's your role?
My role, of course, is playing as Patrick. Mr. Patrick O'Sullivan is Rohan's roommate that he finds at the beginning of the series. I suppose I am the main foil when it comes to the introduction, I suppose, to Rohan's character to an Australian sort of mindset. And I suppose the sort of way that our characters mesh together is the culmination of how these sorts of things can possibly happen in the real world, and that's how it's going to be explored in this web series. Well, hopefully, I suppose. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. We'll come back to you in a minute as well. So now, Rohan, when we talked about meeting the right people, getting all the people, so the resources, as you have touched on that you have put a bit of money on yourself. So how hard was it to get all the resources, like human resources, financials, and how was all that sourced?
It was pretty difficult in terms of, especially if you do not have a big production backing you up, because if there's a big production, then everything can be done very structured, in a structured way. You can hire a casting company, and you can hire, and they can do things professionally and all those things. For me, I think I had to do everything myself, and I am also work full time, and that's a different profession than the filmmaking. I think initially, but I also did it very, try to do it in structured way. So I did post an ad. There's a website called Star Now, where you can actually find the talent. So I did post the the ads that these are the people I need, and this is the concept. and I'd already submitted the script to Screen Queensland's competition before, and I had got a good review from them that I think and from the selectors, that it's got a potential. If you build it further, it can be picked up by the broadcasters. So yeah, then I posted the ad, and then I started, people started applying, and then I started interviewing, and then I started auditioning, and then it started coming together. And we had few auditions rounds, and then Steve McHunter, who's a Patrick, he also came on board, and slowly and gradually people started coming. But it took me good 3 to 4 months just with the casting, because one, it wasn't a big production budget, so people who would come will definitely will be checking about the money and all. But for me, I think one thing was very, very important when I was doing the casting or hiring for a passion, and relate, that were they able to relate with my project or not. Even if somebody comes from a different background, it doesn't really matter. What mattered to me was the passion. And did you see that this story has a great potential, and how we can actually show it to the public, to the audience, what we want to show. And I'm really glad, because I think it's 99% I've got the great people who have made it possible. So, but yeah, it took me good 3-4 months, and there were a lot of hiccups. It was COVID, some people pulled out, and then other people came. So, but as I said before, I never gave up, and it's took me good 3-4 months to hire the right talent.
Okay, and then talking about talent, over to you, Jane. So where and how do you fit into the movie or the series?
So I play one of the lead characters, Tilly, Matilda Williams. She is the fun and quirky side of the story, and kind of a bit of an outcast, and we don't quite know at the beginning of how she fits in the arc of the story yet, but she gives us a bit of an idea of a possible connection and a possible friendship and a development of a really good relationship with Rohan down the track. And she's this, I guess she's got her own struggles, and she's got her own things that she's working through. She's a very successful lawyer who cares a lot about other things than what she's doing and what she was, I guess, pushed to do by her family. So there's a lot that she's working through on her own end. And then obviously meeting the lead character, Rohan, would bring a lot of that in perspective as well. And so we'll see that develop later down the track.
Okay, so you are that bubbly character that's been talked about in the movie. So now, working on the script, and when you looked at the whole concept of different worlds, people coming from different parts of the world, and something as common as sharing a room or something like that, So what were your initial thoughts? So what did you think of the concept and how it would go? Jay.
Oh, me. Yeah. Sorry. How did I think it would go? Honestly, I really, when me and Amit spoke, when I was cast for the project, I really was very excited about it, because I feel that this is something that is actually missing in our industry at the moment in Australia, and I'm not quite sure why no one really talks about it. And I think it is because it is not very comfortable. And like Amit was saying before, there is a reason why this story is something that needs to be told. It's because people are just not very, forthcoming with possible prejudice or stigma around this topic. And the idea of putting it out on the screen might actually get people talking, and that's very exciting for me, because that's what we're all about. This is all very interesting, and I'm very lucky to be doing this as part of my work, but the idea of actually changing people's beliefs and making them think twice about it, and that's what really, I think, gets us going as actors and as writers and people in this industry.
And quite rightfully said there as well, we know that there are many times a fun element, a joke element to the stories as well, some a bit of a comedy with its intention, but these days you have to be very careful and very mindful of political correctness and all these things that come into the play as well. So how did that work out?
Yeah, I think it's always been very challenging in terms of making sure what you want to put, and it doesn't get challenged, or it doesn't get disliked by people too much. You have to make sure it's not too religious and all those things. So it's very critical and also very difficult. So I think what we did with the project is we've tried to make a good balance. We've said things in a way that it shouldn't hurt anyone's sentiments or anything like that, but at the same time the message should come across. So yeah, I think at times you cannot be so much politically right. You have to take a little bit of creative liberty here and there, but we still tried a lot in terms of making sure that no one's feelings are hurt and all those things. But there are few things which are a little bit blunt, I think, and that's how it should be said, because I don't know if that can be said differently. But still, having said that, we've tried to make sure it doesn't hurt anyone's sentiments. Like, even if it does touch few of the critical issues, maybe it's related to the job, or related to a few different things, like relationship with the people, and and the perspective of one person towards the other, or one community. Its community is not the right word, but some people's perspective towards other, and then the conflict, and then challenging of those conflicts. So those are maybe a little bit of like we've said it bluntly, but at the same time we still try to make sure that it's said in a way people understand more about it rather than getting hurt.
And that is very important as well. That is very important as well in today's day and age. Being mindful of those issues as well. Sometimes especially when you're doing something which has got a slight humor to it as well. How do you get that across without offending people? Without crossing that line, that can always be challenging. So it's now to Steve. Steve, you play the part of Patrick, and so how would you describe your character?
Well, it's the thing I find interesting about how I describe Patrick is to just say, well, it's just me. I find that as I was reading the character description for Patrick, I was like, is this someone's been spying on me? Is this putting in? It's just me. The only difference was that it was funny reading the character description originally. I thought, he's got Patrick O'Sullivan. That's an Irish name, right? Okay, so does he want me to put on like an Irish accent or something like that? And I'm like, well, hang on, that's not the case. But everything else about Patrick's character it was so easy for me to slip into because of the fact that it's just me. There were, of course, some instances in which I had to sort of like put more of Patrick inside the character as opposed to me. Like, for example, in there's a certain scenes where we get angry and that sort of things. And I think it's really important for these sorts of things to be, as you were talking about before, about how to avoid things like political correctness and things like that. It's more along the lines of these things are important to have a discussion about, and it's also important to be able to have characters that are not aware of what they are saying and how they are saying it, in lieu of what Patrick is standing in for. It's important to have these sorts of things in media to be able to have people have a discussion about it, have people start thinking about that sort of things. But when it comes to Patrick's character, it was just it was why I had clicked onto the Star Now link that what Amit had set out, and it was what originally got me into the project. To be like, this character is just me. It's just me without a beard. But yeah.
it is always so good when you get a role like way. Oh wow, this is me. So could you share some of the moments while shooting and on the sets? Any memorable moments or some funny incidences that happened? Something that you'd like to share?
One of the things that I particularly love doing is being able to do method acting. So I just slip into the role, and then that's me for the rest of the day. And in the last scenes that we shot was the argument that happened on the Friday, when both characters are slightly inebriated, and for the entire time I was on set, I was continuously acting. I was acting drunk essentially, and my most proud accomplishment was actually getting the was she the DP or the it was either the sound guy or the set designer, and they thought I was actually drunk. And so I managed to nail it. It's like, yes, because the people that were filming the behind the scenes I was just interacting with them when I was not, when we weren't filming, and I was still just kicking it in that sort of that method acting, and I was just, yes, never once broke, and I was like, yes, it's good. Yeah.
And we can just see that in you. It would be so much fun working around with you there. Well, the concept, and how do you feel that the whole concept would go with the wider audience?
So, you mainly considering the concept of, say, an Indian person coming into Australia?
Yes, the concept on the series.
Yeah. So as I was saying before, I think it's incredibly important that we have something like this to be able to watch and enjoy, mainly because of the fact that there's so much of how people operate we don't think about it that much. And we've lived around it for so long that we just don't think about it as much. And I think the most telling example of that was actually during the drunk scene that I was talking about before, where Patrick was saying incredibly racist things towards Rohan, but what I was trying in my acting and how I was trying to go from it was that Patrick was struggling to explain his ideas, and he was thinking of it, it's not that bad. But as he was saying it, he was trying to think about how to explain it. But those aren't actually what Patrick believes. Those are just what he's been told and what he's been surrounded by. So when it comes to having a conversation between, say, Patrick and his father, which doesn't happen in the series, but it's implied that, Patrick and his dad has spoken a couple of times. Well, we hear that Patrick has spoken to his dad. It's just what he's grown up about, and those sorts of little disagreements that go across the 20 odd years of Patrick's life has just sort of deeply set into his mind. And while he can accept it in the situation of talking between his father and himself, or perhaps maybe in his community, it doesn't have any friction until he's saying those same things to someone who it's actually racially bad towards. And so it's incredibly important to have, as I keep saying, it's incredibly important to have these sorts of things in the media that we enjoy, so that we can actually start thinking about what we're actually saying. I don't think that Patrick believes what he's saying, but he's trying to explain them in a way that he thinks he believes it. And I think that's the most dangerous part, because we try to explain things we don't exactly believe, but it's what we've grown up about, and it's not that bad to begin with. But it really is.
Well, very, very interesting. Well, getting back to you, now moving on with the series and the launch. So could you tell us about the trailer that's out, which we will just see in a minute, and of course the launch, and how can people get involved?
Yes, so we launched the trailer a week ago. It says Different Worlds official trailer, which will be played soon. So my request to everyone is it's getting a good views, and people have started liking it. So watch the trailer. So we have more and more response, and then we have like private screening in Brisbane. So on 30th of January from 6:15 p.m. and we have tickets available on Eventbrite. So if you are around Brisbane during that time, then please come in our paid private screening, and then we'll be launching pilot episode after that very soon on mostly on a YouTube. So what we need as filmmakers from people is like your support. Watch it, let us know how you feel about it, what you think about it, and then give us some feedback. And then there's already our crowdsourced funding on Australian Cultural Fund is up and running. If you like the trailer, if you like the pilot, and if you think that there should be further episodes made on this because you want to see the entire season, that how it all should play out, then definitely please donate, please support us, like our channel. So I think as an individual filmmaker, as an independent filmmaker, I think it really depends on people's support. So I have initiated something. I have whatever I can from my side. So the idea was that it reaches to people. So now you have trailer, you have glimpse of trailer, you'll have pilot soon, to see that something of this can be seen across different communities. So if you support us, and then definitely we will be creating further episodes, and we'll be creating more seasons, and we'll actually show you how it all plays out. And I'm pretty sure you would like to see more and more of it. So I think this is my request to everyone.
And once again, thank you very much for sharing that information with us. And I think I personally like the concept very much, because it is about time that a lot of these things are brought to the surface. And what better way to bring it to the surface than through this web series? There are many things that you can have officially, but it does not many times relate to people. When they look at these situations in real life situation, like you with Patrick, your interactions and all the things that you do in your characters find out, and the situations that you are put in, and all these things, and people can relate to that. So it is raising awareness within the community of that, the diverse cultures that form the fabric of modern day Australia. So I think that is a very, very important part. So I'd urge everyone to get involved. Please, you have seen how the trailer, and now that's whet your appetite. Please, watch the launch there as well. And of course, the links are here in the end. All the links for where you can go and get involved. And if you like to support the project as well, you can make some donations there as well. And I think a project like this needs your backing. It needs communities backing. We need to support, ventures like this, so that there's more that can be undertaken, because in the creative field, in the creative art and this kind of field, people do it for their passion, and there's a lot of time, money and effort that people put in, and the little part that we can play is at least go out there and support these causes, so that it can. So Amit, wishing you all the very best, and of course Jane, thank you so much for coming in and sharing that information with us as well. Wishing you all the very best.
Thank you so much, and I would really like to congratulate Brisbane Times Indian and Mr. Umesh sir, who actually has been a great support for us, and he understands the importance of such projects and how the audience can be involved, and what it means for the entire community, not just to the Indian community, but overall community, whether it's Indian, Australian, any community in the Australia. So I would really thank Brisbane Times Indian and Mr. Umesh sir for supporting us and help us reaching out to the broader community. Thank you.
And definitely our support is always there, especially when it is for such a good cause. And Steve, thank you so much for joining in. COVID has kept us apart, but technology has brought us together.
Indeed, as the world has experienced for the past year.
So ladies and gentlemen, that has been another segment of the Community Connect, and as I mentioned before, it is a wonderful project. Please, I'd urge everyone to get involved, go out there, support these budding young stars.
Yeah, the project is Different Worlds.
Do you really want to live with a stranger?
Well, it's so expensive here, and all my friends and family have already got their own places.
Hi, I'm here about the room.
can already see my kit set up. Right here!
No problem. You live next door, don't you?
Well, I used to, but now I'm looking for my own place.
So, can I move in here?
I met this really interesting girl while I was waiting for the lift.
What made her interesting?
Hi, by the way, I'm Tilly.
I don't know. She was just different. Don't worry, Sahib. The Indian will do the dishes.
Well, according to the roster that you wrote, it's your fucking turn anyway!
It's such a waste of time. There are far more important things to fight for in life.
Guess we have a lot to learn about each other, eh?
No worries. We will do it. She just kept talking about my deadly weapons, Des and Troy.
Sorry, mate, but I hope she explained it to you.
Des says goodbye too.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have met the stars, and all three of them appeared in that clip. How good is that? So I can't wait to watch the series and the opening night on the 30th of January. Tickets are available on Eventbrite. If you want to go have a look, please. I'll be there. We'll meet you there. So it's wonderful to see that happening. Well, right now we'll go to the Queensland Premier as. She's made some announcements today, and let's see what those announcements are.
And all of the transport was done via QAS, and that is QAS's job, and they do it very, very effectively. They move infectious people, not just COVID, but other infectious people. So there's no issue here.
And that's the Dr. Jeanette Young, and just before that, we'll get the full live coverage from our Premier as well. Yeah, we're ready to begin.
Good morning, Queensland. So overnight I can report that there have been 3 new cases. We're not worried about them. 2 were acquired overseas and are in hotel quarantine, and none of them are from the guests at the Grand Chancellor. And there is 1 case that has been reported in Cairns, but that is a historical case, so we have no concerns about those 3 today. So we have 30 active cases, 1,290 total cases, and in the past 24 hours we've had 10,820 people get tested. So once again, this is great work. And can I just remind Queenslanders, if you have any symptoms, of course, please go and get tested. Now, in relation to the Grand Chancellor group, the 129 that were transferred, I have been advised that all have tested negative, so that's good news because that was our high-risk group that we were looking at. The 147 people who left since the 30th of December, the ones that were in Queensland have all been tested and have tested negative, so once again, good news. And of the 226 staff, all have been contacted, and some of them have been tested, so we're still working through that. But out of the 502 in total, the Queenslanders have been contacted and the vast majority are negative, so we're very happy with that. So look, I hand over to Dr. Young. The only thing I wanted to say in relation to, we addressed looking at alternative forms of accommodation. I just want to update everyone that these investigations will continue about looking at different options, and as I said that I will be discussing this at National Cabinet on Friday week. Please give me the opportunity to speak to my federal counterparts, and of course this is a proposal that we are looking at, and of course there needs to be a lot of work that's done there. But I think we need to have these options on the table because, as we know, there's a lot of this UK strain circulating at the moment in UK and parts of the Northern Hemisphere, and we do need to make sure that we have the best lines of defence here in Queensland to combat this virus. So with those few words, I'll hand over to Dr. Young.
Thank you, Premier. So 3 new cases overnight The first case is a gentleman in his 60s who's in hotel quarantine in Brisbane, and he travelled here from the Philippines, so he's acquired it there. The second case is a gentleman in his 40s who travelled to us from the United States, and he's in hotel quarantine, tested positive. The third is a gentleman in his 40s who returned from the Congo in September, and he was in hotel quarantine then, tested negative, but he had to have a test done prior to returning to work, so an employment requirement, and he's tested positive. He's totally well, asymptomatic, so we think that is most likely a persistent shedding. We know you can shed for up to 9 months after you're positive, and it probably explains why we've continued to have all of those positive sewage results in North Cairns. If you remember, we've had quite a few of those and we've not been able to explain them. He lives in North Cairns, so that's the most likely explanation there. So now, of course, we're going to do some additional testing just to confirm all that, but I'm very confident that that will be a historical case and not infectious at the moment. So that's good. So we've then followed up the vast majority of all of the people related to the Grand Chancellor, all of those guests who were moved, all of the staff, all of the guests who've left before we found out about this issue. So I'm becoming more and more confident that there is no ongoing spread as related to that, so we're going to do some further work over the next 24 hours, and police will continue their investigation, of course, and we'll be able to work out what we need to do going forward related to that hotel. So that's all going very, very well. Plus, we've had a lot of support from the community coming forward to be tested from that area in South Brisbane, round that Logan area and so forth, due to those 2 cases having been in the community, and I'm getting increasingly comfortable, very comfortable, that we've not had community spread there. And I just commend everyone for what they've done. As soon as we knew we might have an issue in terms of that 3-day lockdown, it's so reassuring that we can use that if we ever need to again, because people were just brilliant at how they responded. And thank you to everyone for using the masks, because I think that really makes a big difference, and people have been fantastic doing that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister.
And thank you very much, Doctor, for that, Dr. Janet Yangu, because he has been on the ball and right on top of things. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we know, Series 3, the test match have begun at Gabba. A lot of actions are happening already there, but there are things that need to be done, so everyone can't be there. But I hope you enjoyed that episode of the special and exclusive interview of the web series Star and Cast right here from these studios, and I'm wishing them all the very best. But don't forget that 30th of Jan is the premiere night, and I hope to see you all there. Tickets are available through Eventbrite, so just search Different Worlds and you'll find it. And of course, on 5th of February, the pilot episode goes to air. And it's a very good concept. I like that concept, and it will go down well. And I'm wishing the crew and cast all the best, and Amit for putting in all the time, money, and effort into getting the project off the ground. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, in the weekend we will be looking at some programs, and I'll keep you updated. We have a very, very special broadcast coming all the way from France and rebroadcasted from India. Is the motivational Shiv Kera, and we will try, because of the time difference, we can't do the actual live streaming here because it will be very late in the night and no one would be interested at that time of the night. So we might restream that at 10:30 on Sunday. Please keep a lookout on our Facebook page for updates on that program. We're just trying to see if we can get the rights and the links to it so that we can restream that on on Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Because around that time everyone can sit back, relax, and watch it rather than at midnight on Saturday, which was highly unlikely that people will be doing that. So until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me. It's been wonderful having your company as usual. So good to see you. Well, right now, if you at the match, enjoy the match, keep sending us the updates, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me.